Hello world of YouTube and welcome to another episode of Redacted, the show where every album has a story. Something I'm happy to finally see happen in a broader sense this year is rapper IDK get his flowers. As someone who got into his music earlier this decade, I've been waiting for him to make that record that really sets off so that people can dive into his various recent mood-driven concepts that I think culminate to a solid discography, if not one that I always wanted more from. And I think he very much gave me a lot of that on ETDS earlier this year, but I couldn't help but keep going back to his last album, his last attempt at going bold and intimate, making a record that had a vision but felt a little light, only to be given the deluxe album treatment a year later, but not given that same care to its track listing and sequencing that I think should have happened to make this vision come into full frame. And that was my goal today. It is a record that I think is very solid in IDK's discography and has the same pen game that he showcased on his newest that I think that if you didn't check out, you should after this. It is his 2024-2025 revised album, BRAVADO, INTiMO. INTiMO.
I don't really know how to love, way too young. Okay, tick tick tockity tock, we ain't stopping it. Trying to sell me.
Now I did review BRAVADO INTiMO when it came out on the listening log. I think I gave it a 7. I'd still stand by that, and if that wasn't my rating in that, I'd say it's my rating now. It's a very solid album in his discography that I just thought was a bit light for how bold it felt like it was trying to go with this BRAVADO side and INTiMO side. And I was shocked that a year later he decided to do the deluxe treatment, but instead of even tacking the songs on the end, he puts the new songs in the beginning and then has BRAVADO and INTiMO after that. But the beginning of this expanded edition sounds like an in-between. It doesn't sound like an introduction. It doesn't sound like... It kind of gives like coming back into the world, but even then putting that at the beginning, kind of a wild choice. And so I decided to commit to the bit of the original album, of BRAVADO INTiMO, and have a BRAVADO side and an INTiMO side, kind of, but more focus on that than some of what BRAVADO INTiMO did, and keep the ebb and flow and mood still intact that exists in the original, but just go full on the BRAVADO side and INTiMO side. So all of the songs from this era are on here because I think it has that bold front half still that gives way to a more vulnerable second half where he explores, his emotions behind getting locked up a little bit, but also focusing on relationships and looking at sort of the evolution of his life post his stint in jail a little bit, while having a great balance of accessible tracks and hard-hitting bangers with some great bars throughout. My version is the same 20-song, 52-minute length as BRAVADO INTiMO. It just has a different layout that I'm going to showcase before breaking it down track by track right now.
Like what's up now? We could barely make it in the building, but now we in the house. Slap the fuck out his face and take his Mario coins. 2025, I'm on my murder shit. I'm the type that I gotta win. I'm the type that could never lose. I'm the type that be breaking rules and I'm breaking backs, gotta bring it back. I was 16 when I said fuck school, now I get a lot of brain for a dropout. Your boy be fake, D-ho fake, I don't really know which one be the up. My niggas was breaking out pounds, I ran in your house to take what I see and dip in the whip with a tank on E. I love all my niggas, I fuck with my niggas, but if they was sitting on cloud nine, but it's really my couch. Pierre Jean raised the original ones, not the one. Look, a broke bitch ain't got shit on me. A urinal, don't you ever try to shit on me. A funeral. Every day.
Hello? Everyone.
I'm back.
Like I said before. As a token of my appreciation for yours.
I didn't think that it was possible to feel your scent, and now it's a must. And if they had a problem, it was likely they would fade me. I kept the taper dark just in case they acted shady. Tapping on my Twitter. Baby, let's explode like a supernova. I wanted to I need me $1 million, not $1 less. I used to think that vesting meant to wear a vest. Let's take it back, the words I cannot take back. I'd rather do this right, don't make a left where all the fakes at. Not having you done counting all the dams I give way too much. I gotta get away for a second. The truth, I wanna say, when will I see you again? And the light turning round is and then before I press the vibe, make a way for my friends. If it wasn't for my pen, they make a way for the pen. Baby, let's explode.
Now, my focus on giving this a firm split gives this the sort of presentation that would fit in like a physical version on like a vinyl style or just a great A-B experience. But there is a sort of retaining of some of the original track listing throughout pockets of this because the original does try to aim for that split of a B-side and an I-side. So I have Hello and CELiNE in the Trap introduce the album. It has a very nice opening wash-in that sort of is supposed to create an ebb for which the bold bars hit with a flow. And I think it does so well. I think that the Kanye West interpolation on the hook of CELiNE in the Trap kind of adds a layer to the sort of through line of house breaking in that goes throughout parts of this, because IDK kind of uses the image of a house in various ways on this. However, after the chopped up sample intro and CELiNE in the Trap, I don't go into TiFFANY just yet. I instead switch into Mario Coins because I wanted to have that flow punch, and Mario Coins is a point where he sort of doesn't go Christian Dior as he spins in CELiNE in the Trap, and instead talks about women and haters gargling on his balls, no pause. It is a hard-hitting banger with just a nice fiery flow from IDK as he goes for the throat with the mic. It ties into some of the themes on the B-side of getting into beef and getting into it with people and having paranoia and trust problems. And I think that it sort of helps create that aggressive introduction to that paranoia before giving that ebb another chance to come back with TiFFANY. A nice little sort of flip like in CELiNE in the Trap. It gives sort of more brand spinning into something else. Also using TiFFANY as an example to flex where he's gotten with the life he's led. And I think that it is a nice, smooth, little catchy moment to sort of bring the listener back after some hard bars to sit in just some vibes. And that ebb and flow, like exhibited on Mario Coins into TiFFANY, is sort of the real MO for the rest of the B-side. It's just a bit more slow with its ebb and flow, considering the vibes across the beats. And sort of the arc I try to pull together across the next couple of songs, because from TiFFANY I go into KiCKiN and Switch Up, two songs that are catchy in their own sense, but one goes harder than the next. You know, KiCKiN still bangs. It's got some great bars and punchlines from IDK on a more catchy driven song, but goes even harder when Denzel comes into the feature list on Switch Up. IDK and Denzel work really well together. I love some of the stuff they've done together in the past, and I think that Switch Up is just another fiery collab that was on the expanded edition that I was happy to see, because I think that both of them go well on this beat. I think that the sort of subversion in the sample and the intro gives way to a nice hard-hitting beat, and in the track listing, like the way KiCKiN ends, I think goes well into the sample and Switch Up, so that's why I kind of put it here. It goes deeper into the more paranoid aggressiveness that was sort of teased on other tracks like Mario Coins, but again goes even harder because Denzel just goes off in his feature. And from there I sort of wanted to bring the flow back into the ebb, so to speak, by getting a more mellower but still kind of hard-hitting reflect on what feels like the last couple tracks we're getting into in the vein of like basking in the crime. It feels like you're in the moment of breaking into somebody's house across those two songs. And DENiM sees IDK reflecting on his couch in his house, and it very much feels like a point of at a crossroads, so to speak. And I think that it's a well-done track. It's a really good collab, and I like that they did this sort of like planting payoff moment across these two records, and this is the planting to what is the other Joey Badass collab that comes on the iDisc. But I think that DENiM is a solid jam, and I like seeing Joey really come together with him and have this moment. And I think that it's a cool track. And it feels like a good sort of introduction to sending the B-side off, because from here it sort of goes into what the crossroads sort of alluded to on this track, getting into with Check and PAPERCUTS, two songs that kind of portray the image of the B-side one last time, with one last B song in Check, and then the first I song in PAPERCUTS. They go together in the original version, and I was trying to find a way to make I be on the second disc, but I just can't. I think these two songs work really well together, and I honestly think that Miles' Trumpet could have been put somewhere else in the original track listing to let DENiM be the introduction to the crossroads that is Check, that are Check and PAPERCUTS. You know, Check kind of gets reflective on what brought him to this point in his life, introducing the elements into the mind of what he's gone through, before PAPERCUTS gets into the personal reason of why he's kept that to himself, why he hasn't really gone deep on talking about his life and crime across this run he started in the 2020s, and really going for more just creative ventures that fascinated him. It is a nice introduction to the much more mellow vibes of the I side. The I side still goes off, but it's very much a more subdued, because it gets introspective in different ways, side. And I think that PAPERCUTS is a good sort of like first page of this stretch of the record, before the B-side closes out in what would be this version of the physical release, and the A-side, the first side, the B-side, and the concept of the record, before flipping to the I-side, that starts with the ellipses, the sort of another sample-coded, but what sounds like intermission, and like, if you're gonna pull together this as a concept, it makes sense to have this intermission style jam. I like that it keeps the vibes of the intro of the sample chopped up style. Something that I wish this did more, but does do it at least one other time in a very pertinent song on the I side. But we don't get to that yet. Instead, we get to what comes after DENiM originally on the original version, but I used to introduce the I side proper, the planting moment itself of Miles' Trumpet. He hops on this beat twice on here to sort of give these introspective bars a place to sit, and I think it's a good introduction, more so to the I don't want to say cerebral, but like more, again, just insular side that this record decides to dive into, that I like and I admire. It also introduces a little more elegance to the sound that happened in parts of the B-side, but were more parts of the deeper tapestry, while that very much feels like the MO more of this stretch. And I admire that about that too. I like the stylistic, shift throughout this. I think it creates a cool other type of ebb and flow, so to speak. Which, when it comes to getting vulnerable, he does so in a handful of ways across the next couple of tracks, with Rich Man Dreams coming after that, being a self-proclaimed in the song Dream collab that I think comes to fruition really fucking well, with Ab-Soul coming in on Rich Man Dreams. Both artists getting to the nitty-gritty of parts of their struggle and how it really hit them. Ab-Soul just doing this well-written deconstruction of his setup, and just how pulled together it was, and how he made it work, and it brought him to where he is now. It was one of the stepping stones to that, and IDK uses it as a moment to talk about the side steps that happen on said stepping stone laying of one's own struggle, blows to the ego and the like. And I think that it's a really good track over a smooth instrumental that I think acts as a nice next step into a more hook-driven smash with Supernova, a collaboration with the artist, a song that has its own sort of like outro coda to the album later on, but the full version here is just a catchy, more pop-leaning song that I think should be getting some play. This is a really nice hook-driven song that with its romantic-leaning lyrics I think could make for a splash to sort of resonate his skills a bit stronger, and that he's been doing this for a second now. I like this song. I think it's a really cute little song, and I think that as far as getting vulnerable differently, it does so very effectively. Plus, the artist being this other side of the coin bridge is just a recipe for pop success, in my opinion, if done well. And I think they do it really well. Again, it's just a nice little duet song that should be places. Should already be places, in my opinion. From that point, there is a sterner switch vibe-wise with not necessarily a harder-hitting collaboration, but a more vivid in a different way reflection on Switch. A song that still has a smooth, obviously a Griselda-ass instrumental. Conway's here doing a great collab here. I think that he and IDK give some bold reflections on the lows that they've faced in the past, and really get to the nitty-gritty of some of the pain they felt, and some of the insecurity they felt, and some of the uncertainty that they felt. It's still like catchy, but like catchy in a different way kind of vibe from Supernova that I think helps cement the more accessible leaning, but still like detail and well-written verses that also showcase IDK's melodic-driven style really fucking well, because he's singing all over this I half, and I think sounds sick as fuck, because he does the hook on Still I, and I think that it's a really nice pairing to some of the singing on Supernova and Switch that I think add to the just smooth melody play in some of the instrumental palettes here. Just further proving why he should be in more places as far as hits go. But Still I is the payoff to the DENiM side. It gets reflective in a different sense. It more feels like in the moment than parts of DENiM do. You know, DENiM feels like it's written reflecting in a POV, whereas this feels very brought to the now after those crossroads have been passed. And I think that it's another great collab with him and Joey. I think it's cool that this demo sounds very different from DENiM, but I kind of get why it's labeled with that, and I think that it's cool where he and Joey's verses go compared to DENiM. But similarly to DENiM, in the B-side, Still I helps round the strictly I portion to its resolution with the other payoff, Miles Trumpet 2, coming out, the other point of reflection on this beat that I mentioned earlier in this track listing was gonna happen. It was a part of just like Still I was a part of the expanded version that he did for this album. And honestly, it kind of feels, again, similarly to Still I, more in the now than Miles Trumpet felt like it was written like. It feels like the look back on maybe some of the decisions thought about in Miles Trumpet 1. It does get more to the emotional side of things that have been teased on tracks like Supernova and parts of Miles Trumpet, and feels like the spirit of at least See You Again and GOODBi after that. The BI resolution stretch that follows I in the original that has its own track from the expanded edition that I just threw in here, and I mostly stuck in this order because I think it's the best flow for this order. You know, GOODBi and Flow have their own this is the end of the project closings, but because I closed this album proper with Supernova's acoustic version, all of these tracks just kind of feel like ends to it all, and I feel like they all kind of and I feel like they all accomplish this is the end of the project reflections, trying to sort of like say goodbye, bring the themes back full circle via flow, and then again just highlight how well written from a pop song perspective Supernova is, and how that Baby Let's Explode Like a Supernova is a solid little hook of a song. Now, I could see a world where if this got a physical release in this track listing, not including the acoustic version of Supernova for like pacing of a pressing's sake, but in this version, in my version for this, and that's on streaming, that's how it is, baby. And that's my version of Bravado INTiMO. Would you like to listen to it? Linked in the description are YouTube Music and Apple Music links for your streaming platform of choice out of those two. If you like this, give it a like. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. I drop 2 to 4 vids a week depending on what I've got going on. I do have Perfect Dark coming back this weekend for its penultimate episode. And Monday, we're back at basketball, baby. But I'm going to go up and devour rack. You guys are going to do these situations, and I'll see you another day.